my secret is that I'm not going to stop doing whatever comes to mind. I don't give up on anything. I don't limit myself to say, well, I can't do that, because there's nothing I don't think that I can do if I decide to do it.
Welcome to Reinvention Rebels, stories of brave and unapologetic women 50 to 90 years young who have boldly reinvented life on their own terms to find new purpose and possibilities. I'm your host, Wendy Battles. Ready to kick your fears to the curb, do it scared, and step into who you are meant to be in midlife and beyond? These amazing women, these Reinvention Rebels, can help light your reinvention path. Come join us and let's get inspired together. Hey, Rebels. Welcome to another episode of the Reinvention Rebels podcast. I am your host, Wendy. I am so happy you're here. If this is your first time listening, welcome aboard. This is the place to come for so much inspiration about what is possible in midlife and beyond. When we decide we want to reinvent ourselves, we want to strike out and see new possibilities, and the amazing women I interview, these women between 50 and 90, they are on fire. They are doing amazing things. And today you're going to meet my friend Diane Givens. She is one of these rebels who at 77 is up to some pretty cool things and has such a powerful reinvention story. And like my friend Sharon Kelly Haig, who was on a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure if you caught that episode. If you didn't, I really encourage you to listen. Sharon has such a powerful reinvention story of reinventing first in her 50s, continuing to do so now at 67, and doing so in a way that adds value to the world, in a way that is of service to others. She shows us what it looks like to live on purpose, y'all. And the reality is, any one of us can do it in whatever way suits us. So that is what we talk about on this podcast. It's all about us getting inspired and then getting into action and doing it even when we're scared. There's a link to Sharon's episode in the show notes. Definitely be sure to give that a listen. Before I introduce my friend Diane, can I share something with you? I have been suffering from menopausal brain fog, and I have been taking something that really makes a difference. It's called Magic Mind. It's a tiny little mental performance shot. It's small, just a couple of ounces, and it's full of good for you, all natural ingredients like matcha and organic mushrooms. The thing is, before I started taking Magic Mind, I was kind of all over the map. Now, my mood has improved. I'm calmer. I'm much more focused. It's been over 21 days since I started drinking it with my coffee. I can feel a really big difference. I'm vanquishing menopausal brain fog, and I'm feeling really good. Rebels, I want you to get in on this too and see if this helps with your mental clarity. The great news is that you can save up to 40% off your first subscription or 20% off a one-time order with my code REBEL20. Just go to magicmind.com/rebel. That's REBEL. At checkout, be sure to use my code REBEL20 to get this awesome deal. That's REBEL20. I've put all of the details in the show notes, and I really hope you give Magic Mind a spin and see how that improves your mental clarity. All right, y'all, it is time for us to introduce my amazing guest, Diane Givens. Let's learn more about her reinvention journey. At 77, Diane Givens continues to lean into her curiosity and reinvent herself. A tragic car accident in 2021, in which she sustained severe injuries and lost her beloved husband of 25 years, changed the trajectory of her life. She was forced to simultaneously heal, grieve, and figure out what's next. Diane says she's still in the process of reinventing herself, a work in progress. To me, Diane embodies the Reinvention Rebels never give up spirit. She inspires, and I'm honored to have her join me today. Diane Givens, welcome to the Reinvention Rebels guest chair.
Thank you so much for having me here, Wendy. We've been trying to do this for quite some time now, but we've finally gotten there. At the time when we first met, I wasn't really ready, but you persist.
I know. I don't give up, right?
No, you don't.
I know. It's true.
Are you ready? So
yeah,
I'm here.
Here we go. And thank you so much for joining me. I will tell everyone that I did meet Diane on Instagram in 2020 and we just connected and you told me about how you were sort of modeling and acting in your 70s. I thought you had such a great reinvention story. And then literally right before we were going to do the interview, you had this horrific accident. And that really has changed everything. I know it has been such a journey for you over the last 3+ years in so many different ways. So I am just so grateful that you're here today. And I'd like to begin our conversation with this idea of reinventing ourselves. Often we choose to reinvent ourselves. We want to create something new or different, or maybe we feel some kind of calling within, but that was not the case for you. You were forced truly into this unfortunate situation. Can you tell us a little bit about how you've reinvented yourself in the midst of such difficult circumstances, both losing your husband and then recovering from the accident?
Well, I can say to you, Wendy, that it definitely was quite a journey. It was a jolt. And, it was one evening we decided on the 27th of January, 2021, I was going to the store. So my husband didn't want me to go at night. So he said, let's come go with me. I said, okay, all right. And got there. We're on our way back, decided to get some chili on our way back from Walmart. And in my midst of my turn, a young lady ran the traffic light and hit us. So that was such a horrific, I don't even remember all of what happened that night. I even though a lot of it played in my head like a movie for quite some time, I could remember everything. But I decided after realizing and them finally getting me out the car. They got my husband out first. He didn't die until he got to the hospital. I didn't know until they got me there. So, going through that trauma of all of what has just happened to me and going through 6 months of laying in the bed, unable to walk because my right leg was broken in 3 places. My left pelvic was fractured and my sternum was fractured in my chest. So I had to lay in the bed for 6 months with my leg in one position, which has caused me some issues. Even now, I've gone back to physical therapy because my leg sometimes still gives me a little problem. But I had to lay there and deal with trying to grieve myself and my husband, and me wondering if I'm going to walk again. Also wondering, what am I going to do with my life now? I mean, all I've known was my husband and I had done so many things together. Business ventures, tried to start a charter school. It was going to be a military academy. We went even to walk to Chicago to visit the only public military academy in the United States. So we went there to visit, to see that. So we volunteered. We used to volunteer at different things. My husband was a psychologist. So I worked with him on different projects that he had going on. We also became real estate investors. That was my idea. So I was a landlord for 10 years. And for 10 years, I was a landlord. And I missed all of what he brought. He was such a good person.
Yeah.
And we had so many wonderful conversations all the time. He was so funny. He was so accommodating. I don't even know if there's, and I keep saying there has to be another person, not that I plan on marrying them, but another person out there that at least comes close to what he was. So that journey for me was just tough in that big void that I had of him not being here and the concern I had of me being able to walk again. And I was blessed to have my daughter to stay with me for 5 months since I couldn't do anything for myself at that time because I couldn't walk do anything. But I was determined to get myself back together because I knew that's what he would have wanted. And that's what I wanted for myself.
Hearing you describe the circumstances of being stuck in this bed, in this situation, having lost mobility yourself and having all of these major medical issues and losing your husband, who sounds amazing, just like an extraordinary human being. Somehow, though, what I hear is that because we're talking today, and here you are, you're walking, you're thriving, you're doing all of these things. So between that 6 months and now, something really changed. So what was it that helped you go from the uncertainty and the pain, both physically and emotionally, to where you are right now? Are you thinking, I'll have some of what she's having? Reinvention Rebels are amazing, as you can hear from our discussion. They've put themselves first, decided their dreams matter, and are taking action. They have unleashed their inner rebel and are living on purpose in midlife. Are you ready to start putting yourself first and embark on your midlife dreams, focused on what you want, not others' ideas of what you should do? Come check out my new audio course, Midlife Reinvention from the Inside Out. 8 Essentials to Greenlight Your Life. I share my roadmap to get you started on your reinvention journey with the key components you need to navigate detours and get on the road to smooth reinvention sailing. Sis, it is time to give yourself the green light to shine in midlife and crush those dreams of yours with joy and purpose. Join today and let's reinvent and get inspired together. Details are in the show notes.
Because I've always been a strong person. That's just been my constitution has always been to figure out a way to make things happen for me and that I needed to happen for me. And because my husband was the type of person that he was and such a motivator himself, and he was writing a book on mental toughness. And so I had to use what I knew because I read some of the books that he did for research so that I could use that. And I had to think about, he lost his first wife, my stepson's freshman year at West Point. His first soccer game, she jumped up to cheer for him and had an aneurysm and died there in New York. So I had to think about, okay, he had to go through getting that young man back together, getting himself back together because they had been married pretty much the same length of time that we had been married. I said, okay, and I know I'm strong, so I've got to now pull myself back together. And so I was determined to walk. I was determined to drive. I used to exercise, he and I, 3 days a week. We would go to the gym. So I'll say, okay, you got to get yourself back together, whatever that takes. And so I made a pact with myself to do everything possibly I could. In fact, I went to physical therapy and did acupuncture at the same time, thinking that I could expedite the healing.
I totally get that. And as an acupuncture person, I'm like, yes.
Yes, I'm like, because I had gone to acupuncture before and I knew what she had done for me. So I didn't think about at the time, she really couldn't do anything about the bone healing. And the top, since my tibia was broken in 2 places, my fibula was also broken, but the tibia's top break was having the longest time to heal. And I didn't think about the fact that she couldn't really do anything about the bone, but I went anyway to see whatever she could do about the nerve, the muscle, and all of that. And then I was determined that I was going to drive, because I said, oh, I'm not going to let anybody have to, cart me around all the time. So I called my surgeon. What would happen if I have to stop suddenly? I just went through all of the things that I needed to think about on my journey to get myself back into a good frame of first being mobile. And I just had to keep my mental state. Now, this was a weird thing that happened to me during that period, though. I'm a reader. I love reading. I could not read. I could not read anything for about a year.
Interesting.
And it was weird. I know, but I've become friends with Judge Lynn Toller, who lost her husband in a year, December. And I was listening to her the other day, and she said the same thing. She can't read. And I don't know what it is that goes through your mind that stops your brain from wanting to accept information. I couldn't look at the news or anything like that. And I still don't look at much of that because there's so much stuff in there. But I was so determined to get myself back together that I worked diligently. My physical therapist did an excellent job of getting my knee back in range of motion back into my knee. And mentally, I just kept saying to myself, you can do this. You can get yourself back together. As you mentioned earlier, right before the accident happened, I had taken my headshots and everything. I had taken acting classes so that I could do commercials. I had been in 2 short films. I had, getting myself together to put myself out there. And then this happened. So then again, like I was trying to say, okay, can I do this still? Do I still want to do this? And what do I want to do? So it's been a process of me, the grieving process and all of that, to me, to just make myself get back together. I did a lot of internal work,
Yeah, I bet. I can see that. And I think it's very interesting when we talk about how you got from there to here. And I heard you say several different things that were really important. One, you did this work on yourself and you really shifted your mindset into what's possible, because I heard you saying that you were motivated because you wanted to drive and you wanted to thrive. You didn't want to be dependent on other people. That motivated you. And you kept telling yourself, I can do this. So I think that mindset, that mental toughness that you talked about, and I don't think it's any accident that your husband was writing this book.
I know.
Right? And that you learned these things that you needed to learn, who knew, of course, at the time, right? You were just like listening to him and absorbing it. But what a gift to learn those things that you then applied.
I did. I knew I had to get myself into a point where I could function on my own, be able to do whatever it is I want to do, go to wherever it is I want to go. I had the luxury last year of taking a trip to Europe for 30 days. And I went to see I don't call him my stepson anymore, because I've been his mother for 25 or plus years, almost 30 years now. And so my son was stationed in Germany. He's on his way to become a general. I'm so excited about that. Yes.
Amazing.
But I went I debated with myself as to whether I was going to stay a month or not, but I'm so glad that I did. And that was a trip that I took by myself. I had a friend of mine ask me, you went by yourself? Well, yes. I mean, I didn't need anybody to go with me. What I do though, is I do use the wheelchair service so that I don't have to try to walk fast, real fast to get there. Cause I can't walk as fast as I used to, but I can still get there and doing all of the things that I need to do. I'm really proud of myself. I really am.
I'm proud of you too. I feel like you've turned such an important corner, and I know that that's come with a lot of internal work. I mean, both the physical work of healing yourself, right? And then just all of this internal work. As you step back and you kind of look at the last 3 years and how far you've come, Diane,
Mm-hmm.
if you had to boil it down to one thing, which I know is hard, but if you had to boil it down to one, like the most important lesson you learned about yourself through all of these trials that you've experienced, what would that be?
That would be determination. And this is kind of a twofold thing, because in being determined, you also have to be consistent with your determination. You know, you can have it in your mind, but you're not putting it into action. So I would say both of those, you know, being consistent with me doing the work that I needed to do, both physically and mentally, and being determined that I was going to get myself back to in a position to be able to just figure it out. If whatever it is that I want to do, don't limit myself. You know, I've been around the block a lot of times. And I still don't want to limit myself to say, well, I can't do this or I can't do that. I'm sensible. I mean, all of us have things that we want to do, and we may not be able to do them the same way someone else can. And I always tell people that anything that you want to do, you can figure out a way to do it. If I need to move a couch or a refrigerator, I may not be able to do it like maybe a man might be able to do it, or some stronger person than me, but I can figure out how to get it done. And so that's the thing that I think I keep in my mind all the time, is whatever it is that I set my mind to do, if I want to really do it, I can get it done. So determination and consistency is probably, I have to put them together.
I like that 1-2 punch of determination and consistency, because you're right. You can be determined about something, but just kind of haphazardly work on it.
Right.
And I think that's so relevant when we think about reinventing ourselves, because when we want to do that, no matter how old we are, where we are in our lives, what's going on, when we make that determination that you talked about, I'm determined to do X, we have to combine that with action, right? We have to activate ourselves to actually do it. And if we're serious about it, to your point, we have to do it consistently. Like every morning I get up at 4:45 to work on the podcast, because right, that's my reinvention dream. And that's that consistency part coming in. What advice do you have for someone who's listening, who is getting inspired by your story of perseverance, determination, consistency, mental toughness, who's overcome many things, and, you know, as you continue to reinvent, what advice do you have for someone who maybe is just at those baby steps? They're scared. They have this thought like, I'd like something to be different, but I'm not even sure how to get started. I might have the determination, but I don't know what to do. What's one suggestion you have that someone could take to get into action?
Well, first of all, don't ever give up on you. And some people do. Something happens to them and they give up on them and their dream of whatever it is that they want to do. So the baby steps are going to first start out with you determining what that is that you want to do. Do your homework. You got to do your homework so that you understand what those steps are in order for you to get where you want to go to. Then start little by little. But again, you got to be consistent about whatever that is that you're going to do, even if it's just a little bit every day. Don't try to take giant steps, because sometimes when you take a giant step and maybe things don't quite fall into place like you want it to, then you get discouraged. So that's why it's little bitty steps. What is the thing? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I hope none of us have to eat an elephant.
No kidding.
I don't know where they came with that statement, but I guess because an elephant is so big, and so we look at whatever it is we want to do as so big. This is a monumental task that I'm trying to achieve here, so I can't see myself doing it. But start where you are, a little bit at a time, every day, going and working toward whatever that is that you have in mind to do. And sure, it's going to be scary. It was scary when I first had to speak in front of people. I remember at a job I had, I tried as much as I could to avoid doing that. And my supervisor came to me and said, you might as well sit down. And I had to write up the program. So I had to create my own way of doing this. And I'm petrified, okay? Because I got to stand up in front of these people. And she said, you might as well just go and get started on it because you got to do it. The first day I did it, I was scared to death. The more I did it and the better prepared I was, and that is so important, the better prepared I was, the easier it became. So now, I don't have a problem. I always say to people when somebody tells me they're scared to talk in front of people, is if you know what you're talking about, it becomes easier. So if you familiarize yourself with whatever that is you're trying to do, as much as you possibly can, take your time, a little bit at a time, and do it scared.
Do it scared. That is it. Oh my gosh. And that's such a great example. First of all, these small steps, taking the small steps. So it doesn't have to be this big, scary thing. You can break it down. But I love that example of how your boss is like, well, you got to do it anyway. So just let's get started.
Sure. And I remember when I first ran across you, and I remember you were saying someone told you, oh, you have a really nice voice. And you should do something where you're using your voice. And you decided, okay, well, let me try this thing.
Yes.
Let me do this. But when you realize you have something that you can do well, then go for it. You didn't know how it was going to work. Here you have had over 100 episodes now, and you didn't know you were going to get to there.
Right?
But here you are.
It's so true. It is so true. We just have to lean into it. And that's a great segue for me to ask you about our season 6 theme. The season 6 theme for the Reinvention Rebels podcast is Own Your Awesome. Own your awesome. I think that so often we are stronger and smarter and more accomplished than we give ourselves credit for. We can suffer right from that. Who, me? Someone gives you a compliment. Who, me? Yes, you. Yes, you. So I love this idea of owning our awesome. What does that mean to you, Diane, as it relates to reinventing yourself?
I'm Dan Heath. On the What It's Like to Be podcast, I ask folks about their jobs, like what keeps a TV meteorologist up at night.
When I'm at work and there's a tornado coming into town, my husband and my kids have to get into the tornado shelter without me.
What keeps a welder driven?
I never am satisfied. I always know I can do better.
And what keeps a hairstylist on her toes?
I know she likes that Halle Berry haircut, but she doesn't look like Halle Berry.
Find out on What It's Like to Be, wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, I have sat and thought back on my life, and I've done a number of things, a number of different types of jobs, owned my own business. I owned a restaurant. I was a franchise owner of a restaurant. And as I said, I was a landlord for 10 years. So I did real estate investing and I was a realtor. But what I had to do when I was looking back over my life, and I said, okay, you've done all these things and they have taught you so many things about so many things. And I didn't even think about the fact that how much all of those different things I've done have enriched my life to the point of what I've learned so that I can pass on to other people. My awesome is, for me, the wisdom that I have learned over these years. I try to give it to my grandkids all the time. Of course, they reject sometimes. But I see one of them has pursued one of the things that I've done. She's already gotten her real estate license, but she has her degree and she has a cosmetology license as well. The other one, but they do listen to me when it comes to certain things that they know that I know. So my awesome is that I have learned things that I can pass on to other people, and I do it everywhere. I am in the grocery store, in the restaurants, and especially young people. But I go in places, I've met people, so many people, And I sit and well, I don't even sit. Can be in the department store. I was in Ross the other day. And me and this lady got into a conversation. She said, "Oh, I'm so glad I met you." Now, when she told me her story, I was able to pass on some information that I knew about that could help her. And I became a life coach years ago. Never did use it.
It sounds like you're using it though.
I do. I give it away. I give it away every day. So I never did do it in terms of me having the practice, me sitting there. However, I wanted to do it if I was going to do it at all like that professionally in a group setting, because I'm better with groups, I think, than me doing individual, because now you got to follow the person and give them a plan and make sure they do the plan. I watched my husband do therapy, so I understood what that was like. And I didn't want to have it that way. So I give it away everywhere I go. I'm coaching somebody and telling them something that will help me. So my awesome is the fact that I can give away freely all of what I have learned in these 77 years I've been on this planet. And it feels good when I know that I have done something or said something that has benefited someone else.
That to me, Diane, feels like you are leaving your legacy, that you are sharing your legacy with other people freely, as you said. And that's powerful.
I guess I could say it feels powerful when I think about it, after it's over with, and I'll say, "Oh, wow." Sometimes I surprise myself. Sometimes I say things that I didn't even know I was going to say. It just comes out, and it's like it's stored in there. It was a book I read a long time ago. It actually was a book, and I like it on audio, but it's The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And if you've never listened to it, I would advise you to listen to it. It's very, very good. But there's a part in there because he's visiting this city and he's observing the people. And he doesn't know that the people are also observing him. So he's observing how they go about life, how they do things and everything. So it's time for him to leave. And he's at the shore. His ship has come and everybody comes to see him off. And he's surprised. But they start asking him questions because they know how wise he must be to have been there to observe them. So they ask him a lot of questions about life, about marriage, about everything. And at the very end, and this is where I said to myself, sometimes some stuff comes out of me. I don't know where it comes from. He says, "Was it I who spoke? Was I not also a listener?" So it's like sometimes stuff is in you that you don't even know that will come out at times when it needs to come out to help somebody else.
Yes.
And it also helps me because then I also learn. Was I not also a listener is really a part of what I do. A lot of times I'm surprising myself, and that's great.
I love that.
I learn from me.
I love that. I love that you're sharing your gifts freely with people, and in return, you get this gift right back to you.
I do.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful thing. As we're starting to wrap up, I want to ask you. At 77, with all that's happened behind you, all and the many ways you've reinvented yourself, I might add, over the years. It's not just what happened recently, but many different
times.
Right? Diane 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. What's one thing that you are looking forward to? What's something in particular that lights you up?
Well, right now, I have decided that I wanted to, because I just, in my small family, and I just think about just me, my daughter, and my 2 granddaughters, because we're the ones that are the closest. And I have a great grandson, such a sweetheart. He's 8 years old, and I get to keep him 2 days a week because his mom is in nursing school. And it's such a joy for me to teach him things that he doesn't know. And he asks a lot of questions, and I try to make sure he understands. So it's just really a joy for me to be around him when I spend time with him. I'm glad I'm not with him every day, but I am right now trying to make sure I spend more time with 4 of us, not discounting him, but us 4 ladies, and me sharing everything that I can with them that will help them move forward in their lives the best that they can. I, for myself, don't have any really specific goals. Tomorrow, we're taking a candle making class because today actually is my daughter's birthday. And tomorrow we're going to take a candle making class. Now, who knows where I'll go with that? I might start creating candles because I'm planning on taking a soap making class. I learned how to do jewelry when I needed some therapy after getting out of my restaurant. It was therapy for me.
Wow.
So I've made jewelry. I still have my jewelry stuff in here that I made. I keep going over my head, into my head, what I want to do about that. I'm reinventing still every day, thinking of different things that I want to do and trying to see what sticks. Let me tell you a little funny thing. I was going into Burlington and I saw this guitar place next door and they said they gave lessons. So I said, oh, that would be nice. I'll go and take a guitar. Nope. It looks so easy when those people are doing it.
It's not, huh?
My fingers killed me. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So that's gone, but I still love it.
I love
so
that.
I'm right now. I'm still working on ideas and different things that come up to me that I want to do. So I'm not limiting anything for myself. I still may consider doing some of the modeling or the commercials. The only thing I had drawback with that, I didn't want to be somewhere where I was stuck for a long time in case my ankle swole.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still getting there, sweetheart.
I love it.
And I'm not going to stop. I had a family reunion this past weekend, and I'm now the senior since my aunt passed. But I told them that my secret is that I'm not going to stop doing whatever comes to mind. I don't give up on anything. I don't limit myself to say, well, I can't do that, because there's nothing I don't think that I can do if I decide to do it.
I love that at 77, your spirit, your desire, your curiosity, your willingness to explore and try new things like guitar playing, right? And I think that's the beauty of this, because we don't know till we try it. That's what I hear you saying, right? We don't know till we try. Some things are going to stick. You said, I might like soap making or candle making, and other things not so much, but we got to make that attempt.
That's so I have a cousin that I tell all the time, you got to try stuff. You don't doubt yourself. You say, well, let me try and see if this might work. Just like you said, it might stick. So I'm still working on what it is that I want to do. And I am going to talk. I have written many few years ago topics that I might want to speak on, or books topics that I might want to write on. So there's still that part of me that still wants to get out here and just talk. Sometimes I do let that little voice in my head say, well, who wants to listen to what you have to say? But everybody listens to what I have to say every day when I'm out here just walking around. So
why not? Why not? Why not write a book or have some other way to express it? Why not? That's more formal. Why not? You could absolutely do anything, as you're proving. I have loved our conversation. It is so enlightening. You have such a story, Diane, and such a spirit about what's possible. And I think that is inspiring for people that are listening, because if you can do this at 77, if you can continue to explore and try new things, see what sticks, just get out there, then why can't any of us in our own unique way? And this has just been fabulous. Now I have to ask you though, because people are going to be like, where can I connect with this amazing woman? Where can I find Diane? Where can I get some of this wisdom? Where can people find you or reach out to you?
Well, I'm on Instagram, for those that are on Instagram, at Diane.Givens. I'm on TikTok as well. And I am on Facebook. So under my name on all those platforms.
Wonderful. And I am linking to all of those in the show notes so people can click or tap and easily find you, follow you. I don't know how you can't all be inspired by Diane, her story, how she's reinvented, how it's an ongoing journey, and the journey continues with this limitless mindset of I can do anything. I can make up my mind and do whatever it might be.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. And I want people to, those that are still trying to get out there and figure it out, just go do it. Just do it. As Nike said, just do it. My husband had a little thing, and I have it on my refrigerator. Life is a continuous process of strategic planning. And I put under, just do it.
That says it all. Diane Givens, thank you so very much for gracing me with your presence, sharing your wisdom, inspiring all of us about what's possible as we reinvent. I can't thank you enough.
Can't thank you enough for inviting me, Wendy. It's been a pleasure knowing you since 2020, our unique meeting, but I am so glad that we met.
If this is what 77 is like, I'm looking forward to 77. Diane is fierce, strong, focused, energized, inspired. She's been through so much. Losing her husband, really thinking, where do I go from here? And starting over, recovering from her horrific accident, and stepping into new possibilities. All of that in her reinvention story. And it's such a reminder that we have our own version of reinvention too. It's not Diane's. We have totally different circumstances, but we also have possibilities. I hope this inspires you to get into action and see what could be possible for you. And the thing about Diane is that she did it scared. It was hard to even envision this situation, and yet she did this. She put herself out there. She made small moves and got stronger and then increased from there. And that's where it all starts, those small baby steps. If this has been on your mind and in your heart, I want something a little different, but I don't know where to begin. I feel unsure. I want to encourage you to download my free gift to you, my Do It Scared, Do It Anyway guide, which gets you started. It helps you identify those things that are getting in your way and helps you uncover how you can reinvent even when you're unsure and when you're scared, because sometimes we just have to get started. You'll find all of the details in the show notes, and I hope you'll take advantage of this little starter kit for reinvention. Thank you so much for listening today. And if you loved this episode as much as I did, do me a favor. Would you mind rating and reviewing this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify? Give it a 5-star review, because I want as many people as possible to hear the podcast, get inspired, get into action, and start reinventing. There are women seeking this, and we want to make it easier for them to find it. Your ratings and reviews make it more discoverable for other people. So thank you in advance. And I can't wait to see you back here in a couple of weeks when I introduce you to another amazing rebel. Her name is Nina Zapala, 66 years young and doing extraordinary things. You're going to love Nina's reinvention story. I'll see you back here in just a couple of weeks. Until then, keep shining your light, rebels. The world needs you and all that you have to offer. Are you tired of waiting for someday? Feel like you're too old or it's too late to reinvent yourself? Unsure of how you'd even get started on the path to midlife reinvention? I'm here to help as your guide on the side and host of the top 2% globally rated Reinvention Rebels podcast. I've been around the reinvention block a lot. Here's a simple way you can get started. Sign up for my free audio 5 questions to spark your curiosity and inspire your Reinvention Rebel journey. It all starts with getting curious about what's possible. And I've got 5 questions to help tease out some very cool ideas. Let's get started. Details are in the show notes.